Welcome to the Childcare Director's Chair, the podcast for bold educators who are ready to lead, grow, and shake things up in early childhood education. Whether you're a teacher eyeing that lead role, a lead stepping into leadership, or a center owner dreaming big, this is your space to grow with purpose and leave your mark. Hosted by heart-centered leadership coach Erica Saccoccio, each episode brings you real talk, actionable tools, and a contagious laugh or two, all designed to help you step into your next level with confidence. So pour your coffee, pop in those earbuds, and take your seat, because your leadership journey starts right now in the Childcare Director's Chair.
Hey guys, welcome to the Childcare Director's Chair podcast. I'm your host, Erica Saccoccio. And when you're sitting in the director's chair, every decision matters. But the ones that you make before something happens probably matter the most in those moments of uncertainty, confusion. So today we're going to talk with Stephen from Vine, and we're going to share a little bit about safety, communication, leadership, and practical strategies for childcare directors. So Steve, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Erica, for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak on a topic that's not an easy topic, but it's a necessary topic. And your willingness to speak on that is going to be a good conversation today.
Yeah. So before we hop into it, tell folks a little bit about your background and what led you and your dad to start the Vine Alert company.
Yeah. Our story actually starts in 2017. Alex Dazan, a talented entrepreneur in Huntsville, recognized a safety gap in schools, churches, and daycares. He built and delivered his first system using a piecemeal set of components. And soon thereafter, as everybody knows, COVID hits and people go home, schools shut down. And I think most in that situation likely would have given up or maybe stated that this product needs a pivot or a change in direction. But Alex made the decision when that roadblock appeared to lean into further development. Our team really looked at what the product was and decided to go all in. And Vine Alert relaunched in 2023 with the best-in-class system that you see today. And so Vine Alert is all about providing schools, churches, and daycares the system that they need so that when emergency happens, that they have the equipment necessary to respond immediately.
I'm a childcare owner, and our responsibility is to keep our children safe and our staff safe. And it's something that we all take very seriously. And, as times evolve and things change, our systems also have to as well. Can you discuss maybe gaps that directors often face in emergency communication?
Yeah, first and foremost, I think we have to recognize that time is the most important factor when you're dealing with an emergency. Time is finite, and research shows in active shooter scenarios that 70% of these scenarios are already over within 5 minutes. And the average response time of law enforcement is close to 15 minutes. So that highlights the reality that your response as a director, whether you're, executive director at a daycare or you're a head of school at a school system, your response is the most important action in an emergency. The most common gap that we see is fragmented communication systems where institutions or daycares rely on a combination of systems. You may have an intercom system, an SMS text message alert system, walkie-talkies, email, phones to alert the entire campus of an emergency. And all of those have issues, right? And so they have a potential to be missed in a setting where, there's chaos with kids running around and making noise and instructional activity going on. These activities are always occurring, and a combination of these types of systems aren't a surefire solution. So I often hear that communication is a top-down, approach, meaning that the news of the emergency often has to make its way to the top before it is communicated downward to the rest of the daycare or to the school campus. And so communication that moves vertically in both directions is inefficient, and valuable time is lost in that. So, if you have to call your executive director or you have to shoot an email or a text message, it's just valuable time is being lost. The clock is ticking. So systems like Vine Alert come in and we offer a visual notification. And so we install strobes and fobs, wearable fobs, that with one press of a button light up the entire campus and provide a notification that, hey, something is going awry, something is not right. And it quickly enables everybody to get into their safe space and enact their safety protocols.
Yeah. So how simple is it to use? So like, can the teachers also activate the system, or because you had said from the top down, so a teacher can as well, or anybody on the admin, whatever, anybody on the campus can, or talk to us a little bit about that.
Correct. So we have two solutions. We have a wired solution and a wireless solution. They can work together. So in the wireless solution, for instance, it's a much more simple approach where we provide fobs, wireless fobs, to each of the faculty members within the school. And with the press of a button, the fobs around the entire campus within a matter of a few seconds light up and notify everyone that something is going awry. And so in this instance, you have special buttons or codes that you can press within the fob, and that alerts certain scenarios. And so you may have an active shooter scenario, you may have a missing child, a severe weather. There are a number of different emergencies that happen on a school
Sure.
campus every day, and our product allows you to respond in the right manner depending upon the situation at hand.
Okay. Um, what would you say is like the most common misconceptions that directors have about emergency systems?
Yeah, I think the most common misconception surrounds the cost and complexity of the product. Typically you might have a system already on hand that works for check-in and check-outs or other items, back of house sort of operations that are going on. And so most are reluctant to consider a different product or added cost. And the beauty of the system that Vine Alert has is that we meet you where you are. So whether you are a one facility daycare with just a couple of rooms and a handful of children with a few employees, or whether you're an enrollment school in multiple buildings across a campus, Vine has the solution to meet you where you are at the price point that works within your budget. And so, it was important for Vine Alert to create something that was scalable. And, in the instance that, you don't have a system that is adequate for an emergency, we come alongside you and we help create that plan to ensure that you are prepared when it matters most.
I feel like there are a lot of benefits to this. So let's talk a little bit about like how alert systems impact staff confidence or decision making and teamwork. Let's talk a little bit about that, because I feel like I would feel really good to work at a center that had something this robust where everybody can impact it. Because again, being a busy director, you could be off site. Like you can't wait for a text or a message from a teacher like, hey, something's going down. You need to be able to really be able to activate your team. And that's where that preparedness plan comes in. And this was part of a preparedness plan. You have to actually know what to do next after the alert goes off. But let's talk a little bit about that. How does it impact staff, you think, in their confidence?
Yeah, Erica, that's a great question. I think being prepared to respond creates confidence within your staff, within the administration, and the freedom to make the right decision in an emergency when there's a lot of pressure. It creates comfort and peace of mind, knowing that whoever sees something within the building has the tools to alert those around them. You look at some of the tragic situations that have happened across our country within the last 5 to 10 years, and often it is a chain reaction effect where somebody hears, maybe a gunfire shot or a call for help. And then, you go to these flawed systems and try to get the word out, but what happens is it takes time. And, time is of the enemy when these types of situations are occurring. And so you need to have confidence. You need to empower your staff with the right tools of communication to respond accordingly. And having that in place, during your day-to-day, when these things aren't happening, it creates confidence knowing that if something does occur, that we can respond when the time is right to respond. And we have
Yeah.
the right communication method to do so.
Yeah. My kids are older now, but as a parent, I would imagine too the trust that it builds with your families, especially because this is certainly something on everybody's mind, right? The trust that it builds with your families to know that you have something like that in place. And then also the calmness to the children. Can we talk about the children? I mean, these poor young children who are, 4 and 5 years old, unfortunately are living in a world where we have to practice like lockdown drills and what to do if somebody comes in the school to shoot up a school or any emergency. I mean, that's the one that comes to mind because it's so prevalent in, I'm in Rhode Island and we just had that unfortunate situation here at a university not that long ago, a couple of weeks ago, I'd say, with the kids too, so maybe helping the kids feel comfortable as you do these practices with them, I think it gives them some sense of calm too, as much as you can.
Erica, I love that you mentioned, your children. And as a dad, I have the same concern for my child and her environment at school. And when it comes to children, you want a calm reaction. You want a calm environment, an environment that has clarity, that has peace. And, if I've learned anything from my child, they react to noise, and they may not react in the most positive manner to a frightening noise or an unexpected noise. And what I love about our product at VineAlert is that a light turns on, an LED light turns on that can grab the teacher's attention without taking away from the environment that the children are in. So it protects that space to the extent that it needs to. And that's important because you do need the kids to remain calm in an emergency situation. It helps you respond quicker. And it keeps them in a space that does not frighten them. And I think that's important. And you mentioned the parents, and I want to touch on that for a minute because from a daycare operations perspective or an ownership perspective, the parent is the client, right? And so the parent is arguably, aside from the child, the most important factor in the success of your daycare because your parents want to know the plan in case of emergency. They want to know that their kids are in a safe environment. And as a daycare provider, it's important to build that bond with the child's parents as they can be a key cog in the growth of your own business. And, installing an alert system like VineAlert, it shows your parents that your facility is going the distance when it comes to their child's safety, that you're taking it seriously. And it can be a differentiator, something to pitch to your parents and say, look at all the wonderful things that our daycare provides when it comes to your child's safety, these considerations that are at play. We go above and beyond just a text message or an email to other staff members that we are caring for your children in the best manner possible and that we're putting the investment where it needs to be so that in the unlikely event of an emergency, that that your child is going to be best taken care of during that event.
Yeah. Stephen, let me ask you, what should directors consider when evaluating security or alert systems? Like what should they be looking for?
I think the first thing that they should look for is what fits their operation and the cost structure that they have. What we had discussed earlier, it's scalable and it fits, but it's important that the directors take an honest look at the protocol that they have in place today and ask themselves the question, is this enough in the event of the worst case scenario? And if it's not, then it's time to reevaluate. And, one thing that I love is by listening to this podcast, they are taking that first step. And so maybe this is the sign. If you're an executive director at a daycare, if you're a head of school in a school system, maybe this is the time for you to take a look at that and that this is the platform that kickstarts that conversation. But you need to look at your processes. You need to look at the cost. You need to look at the reliability of the system and how that works, in the event of Wi-Fi going down or in the event of poor cellular service across a campus. You need to be able to be prepared and react in the event that you encounter certain issues. And perhaps today is the day that you take a look at that and start having those conversations internally as a staff to ensure that if that time comes, you're ready to respond.
Yeah. So since you talk to schools all over the place and you really think about design and safety and emergencies, can you offer maybe some actionable tips that directors can implement immediately to improve communication preparedness in their programs?
Yeah, first and foremost, look at the systems that you have in place. And if you do not have the right system, but you understand that you need to make a change, go ahead and proactively make that change. That's the first step in being prepared, is creating that path for preparedness. And then the second piece is to create and review your protocol and communicate that with your staff and listen to your staff. What is your staff telling you about the concerns that they have and what their experience is in the classroom or in the daycare about each of these situations? And it's just not active shooter. In the event of a tornado warning that's very prevalent here in the Southeast that you see all the time, talk about those and the hiccups that you have during drills. Practice makes perfect. And so it's important that you practice, and that helps your preparedness in these types of situations. And so it's listening to those that are around you and addressing any concerns, taking a look within and saying, am I doing everything as the owner and as the ultimate responsible party in the event of emergency to ensure that our staff is doing what they need to do to keep our children safe?
So those of you who are listening, if you want to learn more or reach out to Stephen and his team at Vine Alert, I will put the link in the show notes below. I think that, it's really important to have these conversations within your admin team and then with your staff and your parents and figure out, do you have the best systems in place? And if not, what are you going to do? So I think that's really, really important. Thank you so much, Stephen, for, sharing some insight, sharing a little bit about you and your company, because I always feel like I know I like to do business with people that I know and trust and like. And you're such a nice guy. It's a family-owned business. Had an opportunity to talk with his dad as well last week. So, wonderful team. Now you guys have centers all over the country. What are some of the states that you have?
Yeah, Erica, we are adding new states and installs every single day. And so it would take a while for me to roll through all of the states that we are in today. But I'll tell you this, that we are in 93 plus schools across the country. We plan to be in 600 schools, churches, and daycares by the end of 2026. We are installing right now, and we're not slowing down. I think the most important thing, and I want to touch on this before we conclude today's show, is that simplicity is key. For Vine, you can get into our system for less than $100 a month. And so I would encourage your listeners to reach out and let's have a conversation. It doesn't hurt to learn more about what we have to offer here at Vine. And we would love to talk about the solutions that we have and what you're experiencing and encountering in your daycare or your school. And we would be glad to be of assistance in that. And so we're rapidly growing, we're excited, and we couldn't be more thankful to be with you on your podcast today.
Thank you. All right, my friends, those of you listening, don't forget to grab your tickets for the Early Childhood Empowerment Conference happening May 7th, 8th, and 9th in beautiful Warwick, Rhode Island. Link will also be below. If you love this conversation, we'll have so many more conversations about early childhood education, leadership, curriculum. The gamut goes on. And not only that, we're going to celebrate you. We have an ECE Awards night. On Friday, we have a paint and pour night, mixer. We're going to have a great time too, because, I don't know. Some of us teachers are tired. And so it's time to recharge. So again, come see us at the Early Childhood Empowerment Conference. And as always, thank you for tuning in to the Childcare Directors Chair podcast, where leaders go to grow. See you later.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Childcare Director's Chair, where we believe leaders aren't born, they're grown. If something sparked for you today, share it, shout it out, or pass it along to the next bold changemaker in childcare. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected with Erica Saccoccio for more real talk leadership tools and a whole lot of inspiration. Until next time, lead with heart, grow with fire, and always remember, the chair is yours. Now own it.